Hello, everyone. My name is Leroy Smith. I'm the founder and owner of Realized Curriculum Solutions. Welcome to this mini lesson on modeling high expectations for all students. In this mini lesson, you will learn 3 tips of how you can model high expectations for all of your students. Modeling high expectations for students is the foundation of education. Believing in all students is a part of the success stories of all students. Is they had that one adult that believed in them no matter what the circumstances in their life may have been. So in this mini lesson, I hope you can take away these tips and that you share these tips with other caring adults who care and provide educational support and services for students within your community. Let's get into it. Tip number 1, believe in all students. You don't know how many times I've led professional development sessions or coaching sessions or just been in the classroom for the past 11 years. And this is something that people are missing from the get-go. Some people believe that because a child has a disability, that they cannot make progress or achieve at high levels at that. Some people believe because a student may be from an economically disadvantaged community or a community with low income and wealth, they cannot achieve at high levels. Some people believe that students that are coming from another country as a migrant cannot achieve at high levels. This belief that students' real world circumstances that are really impacting them are the core why they cannot succeed is problematic. We can't be responsive to the needs of children if we don't even believe that the needs we're meeting lead to some kind of successful story for them. At Realized Curriculum Solutions, we are focused on making sure we support you and others with believing in our children. Our children are capable of any and all things with the right supports put in place. This means that we believe that all students can not only make progress, but can achieve at high levels, regardless of their backgrounds, their situations in the here and now, and or their perceived abilities. If you fall into the trap that you think the students cannot achieve or make progress, guess what will happen? It will be a self-fulfilling prophecy. They will not achieve or make progress. However, if you hold every student in high regard, they will make progress. They will achieve at high levels that are reasonable for them. So tip number 1, always, always, always believe in all of your students. Tip number 2, communicate expectations. This is something as a new teacher and even as adults, whether you're a new teacher or a parent or a caregiver or a seasoned veteran teacher, this is something that people take for granted, is the communication of the expectations. For example, if you expect that 100% of your students turn in homework assignments daily or weekly, whatever that measure may be, and you never, ever, ever, ever tell your students, how do you expect them to know to turn in their homework daily or weekly? I know this seems like something simple, and why am I talking about this? It's because we often ask our students to do things that we don't communicate are an expectation. We don't communicate how we want our students to work with the scientific equipment. We don't communicate how we want our students to sing, or how we want our students to draw, or how we want our students to interact with each other and their environment and the adults within it. So communicating your expectations, believe it or not, alleviates some of the stress on your students and yourself, because everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing. So when you provide corrective feedback, although the child may not like it, they know why you're doing it because they know what the expectation is and what they are not doing. And so communicating expectations makes it a clear, fair, just classroom or learning environment for any and all people involved, including the adults. So tip number 2, always communicate your expectations and preferably before, during, and after any learning experience with students. Tip number 3, co-create accountability measures. What does this mean? Well, the first part is very important. Co-creating just simply means that you as the adult, along with the child or children, are coming together to collaborate and co-create how you will look at these expectations, how you develop the expectations, and how you will measure those expectations. One of the biggest pitfalls for any adult with expectations for students when you're modeling those high expectations is not having accountability measures. Let's go back to the example I just mentioned about 100% homework completion. If you do not create some kind of system or measure in place to effectively say, this is what we're going to do to actually see if people are meeting the expectation. For example, you might want to have a chart up in the room saying that today, 90% of the people finished their homework or submitted their homework. Yesterday, 80% did it, but tomorrow I'm still pushing for everyone in this room to have 100% completion on their homework. This is vitally important because if we do not have accountability measures in place, how will our students ever know how they're doing with the expectations we have of them? How will we know what's happening in those expectations either? Students must always feel as though that not only do we have expectations of them, that we're holding them accountable for it, because the moment that we don't, there's a student or a parent or another community member or colleague that will find their way to get out of those expectations, that we need to have fair and just learning environments. We will only have those fair and just learning environments when there are co-developed and created accountability measures that everyone knows, that everyone can implement and do with fidelity. So tip number 3 is to co-create accountability measures for all people, all students involved, so that they can meet our high expectations. All right, so we learned 3 tips in this mini lesson on how to model high expectations for all students. Tip number 1, which is the bedrock of it all, is to believe in all students. This means that you believe in all students, that they are capable of making progress and achieving at high levels with the right supports in place, regardless of their current situations, regardless of what they are going through and what their perceived abilities are. Tip number 2 is to communicate those expectations to students so that they know what they are responsible for doing and how they're supposed to be learning and behaving at all times. And tip number 3 is to co-create accountability measures with students. And I dare I say it, with families and community members as well, so that everyone knows what they are responsible for and how that's being measured, and what will happen to people as a natural consequence when those expectations are not met. Now, modeling high expectations for all students seems like this is just some kind of fantasy world or whatever it is, but it is very important that we do this upfront with students. You don't know how often I've done this with my own students in the past who have disabilities. I made it a clear statement that everyone in this room is going to achieve at high levels and make more than 1 year of progress every year. And all of my students did that each and every time, because I made sure that I put the things in place for them to do that. And I made sure that they knew that they can do that. And so if you want your children to achieve at high levels, no matter where they are, have high expectations. Do our 3 tips. Share this video with others. Please provide comments on how you model high expectations for all of your students and children. And as always, we hope you realize, and I hope you realize, the solution that works for you today. I'll see you soon with our next mini lesson. Goodbye.